alligators, people who you don't know, you wouldn't be able to like really like mention them. If you did, the ones you do know, you probably like, dude. Like, so you have a fictional version of this person. It's basically like a bot in your mind that you want to torture. It's like the Stanford prison experiment. So I say, let's go the whole way. Let's come up with a fake reality series. Let's come up with a WWE style league where it seems like we're giving these people exactly what they want. They're gonna be happier because they think someone out there is actually getting eaten by an alligator. But the difference is the world will be a better place because they're not actually getting eaten by an alligator. Just let them still try to find work and put food on the table for their family, because by and large, this is like a stereotype, but like they're very family oriented from what I learn when when Republicans are trying to get votes from Latinos.
Yeah, in terms of like, this is not their animus towards this community is not based on their own real experiences. That is what Republican politics is you pump unlimited money into the media for decades to conjure phantom threats. That's all it is. The migrants aren't actually hurting them. Trans people, they literally don't know trans people. They constantly obsess about things they have no experience with. And it's designed to make them not think about the things that they're actually experiencing that are ruining their lives.
To be fair, like tons of annoying liberals do the same thing, but just at the end of the day, they want to make those people's lives better. They're fantasizing about a world in which everyone's happier. Republicans are fantasizing about a world in which they're torturing more folks.
Yeah.
And making them kill themselves.
And that's gross.
And locking them up in a prison where they're getting torn up by alligators.
Well, that's my garbage person. 67,000 of you voted for the community garbage person of the week. And here's your top 4. Coming in at number 4 with 2% is Katie Miller for lying to cover Elon Musk's bogus fraud claims. Number 3, 5% of the vote, Clay Travis for wanting Ilhan Omar deported for Trump criticism. Exactly, yeah, she said, again, it doesn't matter if you're a citizen. They want to deport you if you don't look the way they want you to look. Runner-up, 14% of the vote, Lindsey Graham for his excitement for a potential Iran war, but it's not even close. 78% making Senator Mike Lee your garbage person of the week for his repulsive tweets about the Minnesota assassin. Thank you to everybody who voted. Many of you also voted for the hero of the week, where we recognize some good people. Here's 4 of them. 14% of the vote went to Jon Stewart for roasting Benjamin Netanyahu's lies about Iran's nukes. I like that better. I thought that should be higher ranked. But 21% for Tim Walz for slamming Trump on his response to the assassination. 20% went to Alex Padilla, the senator, for attacking the DHS over being forcefully arrested. Your winner, though, 45% choosing Bernie Sanders as the hero of the week for his bill to block Trump from starting a war with Iran. And thank you to everybody who voted for that. We're going to do our members content. We're going to be talking about the guy who proposed to AI that's being profiled in the media this week. So we're gonna have a little talk about that and how AI is apparently degrading our brains so we don't think no good anymore. And so we're gonna do that. Brett, thank you for joining me. Great to have you here.
Great to be here, John.
Thank you, buddy.
I didn't say this earlier because I was afraid. I was insecure. You look great today.
Thank you.
God dang, he's like, his outfit matches the color scheme of the graphics package. Hoo-yah! He's got glasses on, proves he can read.
I can read. It does match. We probably shouldn't change that graphics package anytime soon and ruin that. But anyway, that'll make sense in a few months. Okay, Brett, thank you. Everybody out there, I'm gonna be leading the first hour of the Young Turks with Cenk Uygur, Trey Crowder later on today. Definitely join us for that. For now, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richey. We have a lot on the agenda today. We have a special guest in the bullpen. Tamir Rice, mother, will be on the show today. We're going to talk about dynamics connected to her ongoing leadership and to the saga that's happening in the United States, and also some context to her personal experience when the world saw someone get away with what most of us believe was murder of a child. We got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay.
I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken when I first got my license, like 17 years old or 17, 18, whatever it was. And I'm driving, I think, my dad's Oldsmobile. And I parked it in a place where there was two cars next to me, really tight spot, and a car behind me. I don't even know how I got in there because I'm a terrible driver. Back then I was an even worse driver. And on the roads I'm okay, but in parking spots I have terrible spatial reasoning and I'm a mess. And on my way out, I hit all three cars at once. I broke all records, okay? So I went, as I'm backing out, I went boom, oh, and this side hit that car, this side hit this car, and the back hit the third car, okay? And I got stuck. I didn't know how to get out. Like, I went, okay, for this, and then I'm like, no, and then, right? And then finally I had to stop, go inside the KFC and go, I'm sorry, I hit a bunch of your cars. They're like, what do you mean a bunch of your cars? I'm like, I don't know.
Wow, there's a B?
Yeah, I'm like, I hit 3 cars. I don't know, so you guys gotta come help me, okay? Okay, so one, my bad, really sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2, can someone take my car out? Because I don't wanna keep hitting your cars and I'm incapable of taking it out of this spot.
Now baby, move that fat, baby, move that fat. We thugged out.
Hi, I'm Brett Ehrlich with breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. This is breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. Hi, Brett Ehrlich here. According to EPA head Scott Pruitt, climate change is not happening. He cited a meme on Facebook he saw. When pressed to back up this source, he said it must be accurate because the watermark said it was made by a scientist. So, your move, Truth.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
You are the media revolution. You are much needed.
TYT, TYT.
The place is like 95% TYT army.
Favorite channel, we're getting that message out.
Tank and the Young Turks do an extraordinarily good job.
No matter what mainstream media says, you have to listen to the Young Turks.
The people who support us on the internet, that's what gives us strength. That's what allows anyone who was in there who was undecided to think one side seems to be winning, they seem to have a bigger army. There might be a reason for that. So thank you guys.
welcome. All right, we got a lot of the show today. Joining me, none other than the funny man, Mr. Jobrani himself, Maz Jobrani, on the program. Dear brother, always fascinating to have your brilliance on Indisputable. All right, first story of the day. Hell of a thing. I'm taking you to Ace Hardware, a racist, not co-worker, but supervisor. Supervisor decided to hang a black effigy on Juneteenth of all days, put in a full mask. Just couldn't help himself. An ex-Ace Hardware manager says he was fired for the unbelievable reason after complaining about a symbol of a dismembered black man hung from the ceiling on Juneteenth, the black federal holiday. So 2 years ago, Devondrick Hartsville voiced his concerns. Mr. Hartsville said that his boss was, he's a white supremacist. Mr. Hartsville told CBS News, Texas, he was working at Van Mark's Ace Hardware. This was in Arlington, Texas, on Juneteenth, 2023, when his manager, who is white, showed him something disturbing in the store's warehouse. Now, understand, the store's warehouse is not separate from said store. It is the commercial property. Quote, before we walked to the door, he told me to look up. And I looked up. And when I looked back at him, he was like, quote, it's a joke. Juan left his backpack. End quote. Hartsville said. Backpack was hanging from the ceiling. Upon further reflection, Hartsville, who had been a delivery driver at the store for nearly 4 months, said the incident sent a chill down his spine. Quote, and when I looked back up, I saw the noose with the rope, and I was like, what the hell? Hartsville said. Bag, to me, looked like a black man who was hung and dismembered, he said. I really feel like that was a message. He said the manager insisted the hanging backpack was intended as a joke. One supervisor later apologized. He said, Hartsville said he could not help but wonder whether it was a coincidence that all of this occurred on Juneteenth, 2023. All right, this is called circumstantial. But context clues matter. Number one, yes, it's on Juneteenth, and say it out loud, it is the black federal holiday, okay? Number two, the man told you to look up. Why would you care about Juan's backpack? You definitely would care about a dismembered black male effigy hanging from the ceiling because you happen to be a black male. And if your narrative is correct, he happens to be a white supremacist. In addition to that, another manager did apologize. Apologize for what? For Juan's backpack? What do we say I'm sorry for? All right, here we go. So now, almost 2 years later, Hartsville has filed a $1 million lawsuit against Ace alleging racial discrimination, according to court documents filed Tuesday. He was fired, the suit states, because he reported the troubling incident to the company's HR department, which, by the way, is supposed to handle human resources. This is a violation of how you handle your human assets of your company. We call them human resources. Now, Hartsville included pictures of the noose in his discrimination complaint to the upper management. So when he sent the complaint in, he provided the pictures. He said the noose was still hanging when he returned to work the next day, according to the suit. Representatives from HR assured Hartsville there would be an investigation, the suit claims. The company promised the same when it was asked to comment on Hartsville allegations in 2023. This is a statement from Van Marks. Van Marks Ace Hardware would like to assure you and the entire community that any allegations of racism or any discrimination is being thoroughly investigated and addressed with the utmost urgency, the statement said. We take such incidents seriously and are committed to creating a safe and inclusive environment for both our employees and our customers. Now, anytime somebody utilizes the word utmost in their apology statement, they are lying. I just want to give you a code of life, okay? Now, Mr. Hartsville alleges that he was suspended without pay after coming forward to HR with concerns and was never asked to come back to work. His position was later filled by a non-Black applicant, according to the suit. Atlanta Black Star News reached out to Ace Hardware seeking comment. No comment has come in the immediate. All right, we have a very clear example, in my humble opinion, of a racist moment that likely did not start that day, but is part of the culture. And maybe that was the point of the supervisor. And, well, Mr. Hartsville, he don't like taking points, and so he sued him. Okay, here we go. So, dear brother, this is an interesting case because it looks like he has the actual evidence, meaning he filed a complaint, put the picture in the complaint. And at this point, if you go to trial, everybody has to be exposed and record and under oath.
Yes, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and that picture says it all. First of all, you got to think about, did this guy have a noose laying around and decided to pull his quote unquote practical joke? Or did he build the noose for his quote unquote practical joke? Either way, if you're building a noose or you have a noose hanging around, most likely you're a white supremacist. That's just part of it. I don't have any nooses around. A lot of us don't have nooses hanging around. This guy has a noose available for his quote unquote practical joke. And secondly, like you said, context matters. This was on Juneteenth. You can imagine how a lot of white supremacists are upset about Juneteenth. And so it's very possible that he thought, oh, this is my way of expressing my discontent with this holiday. And he decided to bring it and show it to a Black employee to see what his reaction is. And I would tell you something, Dr. Rishi, I'm a stand-up comedian, and a lot of white supremacists are now saying, oh no, it was a joke. I was just joking. You can't take a joke. No, man, that's not how it works. If you do a quote unquote joke and it's racist, it's just not funny. And right. So you can't say, you're stopping my First Amendment right to freedom of speech. I should be able to say any word. You can't take a joke. You're a snowflake. They say all of that stuff, Dr. Ritchie. And then when I go on stage, and if God forbid I mention Donald Trump's name, if they're in the audience, they lose their minds. Don't talk about him. That's not right. So it's amazing how they are the snowflakes. It's amazing how they use this as an excuse. They keep saying there's cancel culture, cancel culture. Well, cancel culture is happening in the other direction all the time. If you don't believe me, ask Mahmoud Khalil. Ask the girl who wrote the op-ed piece at Tufts University criticizing the war in Gaza. Ask many, many people whose speech is being asked, the people protesting in the streets of Los Angeles against ICE. That's where the cancel culture is happening. And you get white supremacists doing obviously racist things and then trying to excuse it as a joke. To your point, I believe that this will hold up in the court, and or they'll end up settling. But hey, man, if you're gonna be racist, at least admit it. Just say, yo, that's what it was. That's who I am. And you know who you are. I know who I am. And let's move on, rather than trying to hide behind this facade of it was a joke. It was not a joke.
That's right. Not a joke, not funny. And also, is going to be expensive. And to Mr. Hartsfield, thank you for filing that suit that brings light to the world. And it also provides an opportunity for correction for the wrongdoer. All right. Well, LA Dodgers, they have banned ice cream from entering the stadium. As the court sides with Trump, here we go.
Aware of any planned federal actions.
Officers are just showing up. We don't even know what type of officers they are. They're masked, as you saw. They don't present their ID. It said Border Patrol. Are they Border Patrol? Are they ICE? Are they Federal Protective Services? It is a sense of confusion and chaos. Our police department, our police chief, had no knowledge of this.
Damn ice cream. That is our new name for ICE. Cream. All right. So the LA Dodgers and Trump administration, this saga is like an SNL skit, but reality television. And Donald Trump is the star. So LA Dodgers and Trump have found themselves, in a battle, and they're at odds over federal agents that were denied entry to the MLB Stadium. Now, last time I checked, the MLB Stadium, obviously, this is not property owned by the federal government, which provides for them constitutional protections. Ice cream, they believe that somehow these constitutional protections do not apply to said constitutional entity. The officials were escorted from the premises by who? Law enforcement. That's why I'm calling them ice cream, because obviously they're the ones that are breaking the law. LAPD, in this case, they are the actual cops. They're the ones enforcing law. Reports began to circulate that federal agents were present at the stadium outside downtown Los Angeles, sparking concerns that the Trump administration's immigration crackdown was coming to the home of the World Series champions hours before a game against the Padres. Damn. Protesters rushed to the area, began chanting anti-ICE slogans at the federal agents. Now, you got to give it to Trump for being inventive and creative. So he wanted the big headline. That's all he's going for. We know that. He wanted the cameras to already be there. He doesn't have to work for earned media. He doesn't have to send out a press release prior. Cameras already there, just go there. And these federal agents decided to say yes to whatever command structure gave the order. Now, the Dodgers posted on X that ICE had come to the stadium, requested access to the grounds, and that request was denied. All right, we're good. This is well within everyone's constitutional right. The federal government, they have a right to request. Private citizen has a right to deny. Everybody's good. Nobody's been violated. Okay? But not long after that, the Department of Homeland Security, so now we got DHS involved, stated that the agents who were at Dodger Stadium were not from ICE, and their presence wasn't related to the immigration crackdown that has roiled Los Angeles. Well, wait a minute. So one federal agency, this is interesting. So the Department of Homeland Security, they came out with a statement and said, Immigration's Customs and Enforcement, they weren't the ones there. Well, why can't ICE say that? They're a federal agency. Why does it take another federal agency to say this federal agency wasn't present? And then, I'll be damned, a third federal agency, the U.S. Customs Border Protection Agency, were in a nearby parking lot. Y'all can't make this stuff up, man. They were in a nearby parking lot or near the grounds, and one of them had a car malfunction that caused them to stay longer Yes. Longer, according to the CBP official who maintained there were no operations related to the MLB club. All right. So I think we got to the bottom of it now, right? We got 3 or 4 federal agencies involved in a guy who, now what happened to him? His car malfunctioned. All because of a car malfunction, all right? But here's the thing, video. Video shown by affiliate KABC News showed federal agents stationed, agents plural, yes, stationed on one of the streets leading up to the stadium. CNN has reached out to ICE for comment. I see why ICE didn't say anything. Okay, got it. We could have figured it out when ICE did not say, hey, we're ICE and we weren't there. The Dodgers had been expected Thursday to announce a plan to assist the immigrant community impacted by the recent, round of immigration operations, but that announcement has now been delayed, quote, because of the events earlier today. Dodgers president Stan Kasten told the Los Angeles Times. A new appeals court ruling says Trump can keep National Guards in Los Angeles for now. I disagree with that ruling. We talked about it last week on the show. That ruling, in my opinion, does not restore status quo. That typically is what you do in an appeal situation. It maintains something that is not status quo, which is the president having control of the guard. Now, a federal appeals court in San Francisco said Thursday that Donald Trump can keep the California National Guard in Los Angeles for now, delivering a win for the president as he aims to use the military to police protests against his deportation efforts. The unanimous decision from the 3-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, 2 of whom were appointed by Trump in his first term, and the 3rd was appointed by Biden, said that Trump appears to have lawfully deployed the National Guard in the city, even though he did not consult California Governor Gavin Newsom. On social media, Trump hailed the decision as a big win and suggested that it would open the door for similar deployments across the United States if he determines that local law enforcement is, quote, unable for whatever reason to get the job done, end quote. Now, if he decides that law enforcement is not capable, he will deploy trained killers to said district where the police are incapable. Now, I want to talk to every police officer, every detective, every member of SWAT, every community cop, resource officer, chief, sheriff. Where does that leave you? Where does that leave your command? Has the Trump administration spoken to you about this potential blueprint? What about the legality of it? The president can't even go to war without a declaration from the United States Congress, but the president can go to war with you without one? None of this makes sense. It's unprecedented. At some point, you got to speak up. They're not coming after your deplorables. They're not coming after the folk that you may be bigoted against or the worst criminals among you. They were using them as proxy to get to the ultimate point, which is simply control. Control of it all, including you. All right. Maz, thoughts here.
Dr. Rishi, you said a couple of great points. First of all, you said, why didn't ICE make this statement? Why did Homeland Security make this statement? And in my mind, I thought they're the same, but they're not. I just looked it up, and ICE is a specific agency within the larger Department of Homeland Security.
Correct.
So to your point, ICE should have made the statement, number one. Number two, You call them ice cream, and I thought you were calling them ice cream because they're creaming all over our constitutional rights. They're getting rid of our constitutional rights. There's no due process. They're just pulling people off the streets, putting them in a van, taking them to Louisiana, taking them down to El Salvador. So that's number two. Number three, this excuse that the guy's car broke down. I don't know about you, Dr. Ritchie. When my car breaks down, I don't call for the cavalry to show up. Right. I call AAA. Right. So if that dude in his car that broke down from Customs and Border Patrol had sat there with AAA, putting jumper cables on his car, okay, you know what? We misconstrued your presence at the Dodgers game. However, that was not the case. And again, it goes back to this idea of, listen, at least admit what you're doing. Don't try to hide it with smoke and mirrors. We know what was going on because after the fact that the Dodgers didn't allow these guys to come on their property, as you stated, they were down the street stopping people that immigrant-y. Yep. That means brown. They're just stopping them. Let me see your papers. And let's not forget, all of this right now stems from the last point you just made. During the election, he kept saying there's 20 million violent criminals that are undocumented. We're going to get rid of them. They come into power. They realize there ain't that many undocumented violent criminals. Matter of fact, immigrants commit fewer crimes per capita than citizens do. And so they realize, we don't have enough immigrants, undocumented immigrants to deport. So Stephen Miller goes to the ICE agency per the Wall Street Journal, and he says, you guys got to up your quota to 3,000 deportations a day. Now, you and I both know anytime there's a quota for a law enforcement agency, that's just going to cause trouble. That's what happens quite often when people say, end of the month, those traffic police are out there, they're trying to hit a quota and they're pulling people over. Well, here we are now with a quota of deportations. So they go, okay, we don't have that many violent criminals that are undocumented. Let's find us 3,000 undocumented immigrants every day. And then they come to realize, first of all, I live in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a city of immigrants. The population here are mostly immigrants, and we get along just fine. But they're starting to realize, oh, wow, we're going into these restaurants and we're going into these workplaces and we're going onto these farms in Oxnard where there's people picking strawberries and we're plucking them out and we're sending them away. And we saw Donald Trump. This is what blows my mind, Dr. Ritchie. Donald Trump just last week goes, there's people that have been working on these farms for 20 years and they're good people and in these restaurants and we're going to change the policy. As if you shouldn't you have thought of that before you started this policy? How are these people running their government? They just go. It's kind of what they did with Doge. Let's just fire everybody. Ooh, we need air traffic controls. Let's bring them back. Ooh, we need people working on our nuclear department. Let's bring them back. So it's this throw things against the wall, see what sticks. Oh my gosh. This is taking away from businesses in California. Then let me reverse my policy. And then he comes back and re-reverses the policy. They're back to going to Home Depot. They're back to going to restaurants. They're back to going to these farms. And I can't wait, Dr. Ritchie, for the economy to take this hit that it's going to take when strawberries cost $100 a basket, when you go to the restaurant and your food takes an hour to show up because there's not enough people working in the kitchen. I can't wait for that to happen so that the economy tanks and these people realize selfishly that what they're doing is not only cruel, but it's stupid.
That's right. And truly inevitable. So we'll bring you the updates when it happens. All right. Well, a black woman walks out of an auto shop after a worker mocked Juneteenth. Here it is.
Why are the banks closed on Juneteenth? New holiday they did years ago. Oh, you know, Jim.
I know, right?
Pull my truck around. Please. Pull my truck around. And give me my keys, my truck. I don't want to know. Please go get my truck. Thank you.
Is it this one right here?
Yes, no, it's a birthday present.
We can allow you to look at it. We said Juneteenth was the holiday tomorrow. And yeah, I'm not. That's we got mad about it. We have other things for folks for the Juneteenth.
I don't even know what is Juneteenth.
Exactly, but I think it's something to do with reparations or something.
Yeah.
You know, you have Google. You know, if you really are interested in knowing what the holiday is about, put up the picture for Maz. We have hell of a story here. A Black North Carolina woman waiting to have her truck serviced decided to spend her money elsewhere after 2 employees and another customer appeared to mock Juneteenth. A customer had asked why banks were closed on Thursday. Man, because you're uninformed. That's why. They told you. I promise you. It's on the calendar. The employee responded, quote, Juneteenth, a new holiday they started a few years ago, end quote. The customer replied with a sarcastic tone, okie dokie. Another Synergy employee standing at the corner joined in laughing. I know, right? I know. This is funny. So the woman, the only Black person in Synergy Auto Care in Wilson, North Carolina, at the time told an employee to, quote, give me my effing truck, pull my truck around, please. Pull my truck around and give me my truck. I don't want nothing done from here. She continued, please give me my truck, thank you. She then promptly turned and left the store. After the Black woman, one of the employees admitted he didn't know what Juneteenth was. Something about reparations, something. He said. Can we analyze the subconscious psyche just for a minute? So it's about reparations because the holiday is in reference to Black people and freedom. It's actually a reference also to the misinformation campaign that permeated the culture then, that permeates the culture now. Juneteenth, while not the official emancipation, the intentional effort to stop the information from coming to places like Texas is the reason Juneteenth is celebrated. Now, though the unidentified Black woman was clearly offended, no one from the store apologized. Instead, they went after her on Facebook, and now it's on. Calling it today's, quote, wow moment. One of the employees repeated the story accurately, but felt no offense should be taken. No offense should be taken. Let's analyze that. Why? You see, Juneteenth is a celebration, a remembrance, an honoring of progress, while at the same time honoring those who died, those who were violated and had every asset they would have owned and earned ripped away from them because of a system. I would understand if you were offended because somebody made fun of Memorial Day. I would understand that, especially if you are in the military or former military man or woman. That would make complete sense, and I would echo your sentiment, and I would advocate for your position. But when it comes to the suffering, to the killing, the murder, the sexual assault of Black bodies, it becomes a contextualized dynamic that has simply opinion rooted to it, no ethical or moral issues to discuss. This lack of care permeates. So the employee said that he did follow her, followed the woman outside, asked her what happened. Quote, she told me she was going live with this and that we were racist. He said in the Facebook posting, quote, she told me that we all laughed at her and we're chuckling and mocking the holiday, and that I didn't know how that made her feel because she was Black. She said, I'm still going live with this, end quote. The store employee told her if she did, the store would post its footage. Quote, so we're not unfairly judged off one side of an event. End quote. The lack of care about the holiday isn't limited to business. Here it is.
Just one more on Juneteenth. Does the president plan to commemorate the holiday today or make any comment on it?
I'm not tracking his signature on a proclamation today. I know this is a federal holiday. I want to thank all of you for showing up to work. We are certainly here. We're working 24/7 right now. Nikki, go ahead.
Actually, that was my question. Will he plan to mark Juneteenth in any way, either today or with an event later on, maybe next week?
Sure. I just answered that question for you.
I got to be honest, hell, I thought he was going to come up with a proclamation saying it's over with, to be honest with you. Everything DEI. I answered the question, continue, but told you he was going to sign something. All right, so President Donald Trump took to social media. Social media on Thursday, on Juneteenth, a federal holiday, to criticize what? The number of non-working holidays. He's getting around to it. He's getting around next year. In the United States, quote, too many non-working holidays in America. Man that golfs 5 days out of the week because he sleeps for 2 of them. He says the non-working days, holidays, that's the problem with America. It is costing our country billions of dollars to keep all of these businesses closed. The workers don't want it either. Soon, we'll end up having a holiday for every once working day of the year. Yes, 365. It must change if we are going to go make America great again. Trump wrote in the Post in his Truth Social platform. Now, why is he doing this? Obviously, man, this, for those who are halfway awakened, this is laughable to you. This is funny, as if he cares, as if the information is accurate, as if he is doing something other than simply setting up the scenario, the stage for these clowns. Here they go.
Okay, everybody, a lot of people are going to be saying happy Juneteenth. It should not be a federal holiday, and I'm on my way to work. Have a good day.
Juneteenth should not be a federal holiday. And remember, everybody, Republicans fought to free the slaves. Democrats did not. And the reason why this holiday existed in Texas is because Democrats decided not to tell the people that they enslaved that they were free. They were trying to just kind of just push them into the dark, kept them in the dark, didn't tell them until General Gordon Granger came down and said, hey, you are free. So the reason why this holiday even existed is because, in Texas, is because Democrats decided not to tell the enslaved people that they were free.
Well, today's Juneteenth, and it marks the day that slavery finally ended in Texas 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. That is a real, meaningful moment in history. No one's arguing that. Conservatives aren't out here saying that we shouldn't celebrate the end of slavery. But now, Juneteenth is officially called Juneteenth National Independence Day. And that's where the issue lies, because we already have an Independence Day on July 4th, the day that we declared freedom for all Americans.
Yeah, and that would have been just fine, Karen. I'm gonna call you that, Fit. That would have been just fine if independence actually did happen. You would not need a secondary dynamic to fix the first one, because we did not get free by way of proxy. It wasn't freedom if everybody ain't free. That's real simple, is it not? And to Charlie Kirk, you don't even think Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday is an appropriate holiday, sir. So your racism continues to stand. At least you're consistent. As far as Juneteenth being something that, well, is an inappropriate holiday, can you tell me why? I hear you say it shouldn't be, but can you make an argument as to why it should not be? Can you provide a reason that we can debate? No, you can't. And I will wait. And I invite anybody to the Bullpen to do so. So meanwhile, Juneteenth, Juneteenth celebration have been scaled back this year due to funding shortages. Companies and municipalities across the country reconsidered their support for diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, canceled federal grants, and businesses moved away from so-called brand activism, have hit the bottom line of parades and other events heading into Thursday's federal holiday, which celebrates the end of slavery in the United States, the unofficial official end. The shrinking financial support coincides with many companies severing ties with LGBTQ celebrations for Pride this year and President Donald Trump's efforts to squash DEI programs throughout the federal government. And if that wasn't bad enough, this happened.
Trump supporters showed up to Juneteenth event being messy.
Collective, right? They pulled up. They claim they're conservatives. They came here and started calling us racist and recording us and basically giving us a hard time. There's kids here, so I just want to let y'all know.
Yeah, their presence is the reason why Juneteenth is a very credible and reputable and needed point of reflection for the nation. To the woman who said that Juneteenth is a celebration of individuals enslaved being free, and that's a good thing, that's a great historical point, but then decided to make an opposite gesture for the recognition of the holiday. It's interesting to me how individuals can actually be factually correct on what the holiday is, but still be internally about the conclusion. Maz, thoughts?
Oh man, there's so many thoughts here. First of all, MAGA has to get together. It looks like they're having different opinions on this because Charlie Kirk said he's going to work, but those people with the bus clearly weren't going to work. They had time to show up at a Juneteenth event to taunt the people celebrating Juneteenth. So they're going to go to work or they're not going to go to work. Look like those guys were not working. That's number one.
For the federal holiday.
Off. They're off. Number two, the stupidity just runs rampant with these racists. Starting with Donald Trump in his tweet where he says non-working holidays. For the most part, holidays, that's the definition of a holiday. It's non-working. So it's a little redundant. And then he's dumb enough to say that these things are costing us billions of dollars. No, sir, what's costing us billions and trillions of dollars is your big, beautiful bill that's going to make the rich richer and those who don't have less. That's what's going to cost us trillions of dollars. Thirdly, going into those guys in that auto place in the beginning, I mean, how dumb do you have to be, as you said earlier, to not at least Google it? When the lady says, what's this about? Hey, you know what? I got a phone. Let me just put this in and see what it's about. Oh, it's about, read it to her and then move on. But he's dumb enough to not say that, not know that, and say it's about reparations or something. And then he's even dumber, Dr. Ritchie, because you and I both know we love holidays because that means you don't have to work. So if anything, he should be flipping the script. And when the lady says, what is that? Oh, Juneteenth is a celebration of the independence that the slaves had in Texas. And the truth is, my boss isn't closing on this day, but I'm pushing for him to close so I can have a day off and stay home. So he's so dumb, he doesn't even want a day off. And so these people are really, really just thick in the head. The girl who said that, oh, the Democrats didn't tell the slaves. She's blaming it on 200 years ago when the parties were reversed, and we're going to blame them. I mean, it's just ridiculous the lengths these people go to excuse their racism and say, no. It's not that we don't like black people. It's just that, this doesn't fall into the agenda of independence or American freedom. I mean, these people ignore history. And if you want any proof of that, all you got to do is go to Florida, where they said, let's not teach about slavery because that's going to offend white kids when we teach about slavery. So they want to live in a dark, without any knowledge, in darkness, and just spew things like this, not be sensitive. The thing that the guy could have done, the employee that went out to talk to the lady, could have fixed it by saying, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. We're sorry. I'm going to talk to Charlie or whatever his name is. Go back in, be a human being. Because just because you don't know, just because you're ignorant, doesn't mean that someone else isn't going to be offended by your words. So if you have an iota of intelligence, you go back, you fix the problem. And if you have an iota of sympathy, you go back and apologize and fix the problem. And so these people don't have any of that. And I hope Juneteenth gets a whole month, sir.
There you go. I'll be for it. And to those who hold the argument that somehow this is about other people and not in the American context, check yourself. If you really believe, that all Americans are American and we should not have these race-based, culture-based holidays, why would you not look at Juneteenth as the day that the rest of the Americans were freed? Just think on it. All right, we got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay. Indisputable, exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
All right, welcome back. Okay, I'm going to read a couple of comments quickly, and very thankful for everyone who joins the combo. All right. And don't forget Indisputable, the podcast, available virtually anywhere you get podcasts. Yep. Nostra Science says, when it comes to types of twisted, sick, far-right harassment HR is not your friend. They are there for protecting the creepy insiders in the company. There you go. And we'll do one more. Yep. Harvard Ellis. Good afternoon, Doc. I hope you had a wonderful Juneteenth yesterday, but let's not forget, it ain't open until Monday. So let's, if it ain't open until, forget it ain't open until Monday. So let's keep on celebrating. There you go. Beautiful. All right. That's something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life. You've removed funding from sports things. You've removed all kinds of things. But there's all this money to go into a bathroom to support a very small percentage of student life. When you already have accommodations for that. You have 4 bathrooms that are gender neutral. But now we're changing more. What are your policies going to be for these kids being tardy because 60 kids are standing in one bathroom because they're not using that other one? I hope there's going to be leniencies for that and that nobody's going to be disciplined because it's going to take them 45 minutes to go to the bathroom in their 5-minute break. How about the amount of possible teenage pregnancies that could arise from this? Because now you have locked doors and, hey, you and me, let's go.
Thank you.
Or you have a problem with vaping already and you can catch them when you go in there, but you're not going to see that now.
Wow. Put it a full mass. Karen, are your bathrooms at home male, female, boy, girl, or gender neutral? As a matter of fact, 94% of all commercial bathrooms are actually, well, gender neutral. It's just go in the office, and if somebody's in there, you can't go in. They lock the door, then they come out. Kind of how you do it at home. All right, so she's making a huge deal, even though it's, simple. They provide some gender neutral options at the school. Now, according to the poster, all right, the poster of the clip, who claims to be a student at the high school, said this Karen freaked out over the inclusion of gender neutral, wheelchair accessible bathrooms. Allegedly, the incident occurred at a school in Canada where the school's bathrooms were not wheelchair accessible. And the renovations rectified the issue so that they would help accommodate individuals over the summer break. We could not independently verify these allegations. But I can independently verify that's a Karen in Canada. All right. Thoughts there, brother?
I've never seen anybody get so upset about too many bathrooms, sir.
Right.
Usually it's the opposite. You guys need more bathrooms. She's upset. You need less bathrooms. Listen, if she has a problem, I don't know what the policy is at this school. I don't know if the idea is that these new bathrooms are only available to certain specific types of students, then she should, and there's a backup of bathroom because she says there's going to be 60 kids lined up to use the bathroom. If that's the situation, then she can go quietly into this guy's office and go, hey, man, my child is having trouble because the line for the bathroom is long. Is there a way to make those other bathrooms available to everybody? That's how you handle it. You don't go there in public and shame this gentleman who is trying to do the right thing and has done the right thing. And by the way, the bathrooms have already been built. So you're saying they're taking money away from sports to build the bathrooms. They do this kind of stuff all the time where they claim that the money is being taken away from something else to pay for this thing. And there's no actual fact that these two have a correlation. It could be that there's been cuts to the sports budget, and then they had this budget to construct some stuff at the school, and they needed more bathrooms and these types of bathrooms. And for her to say that the kids are going to be going into the bathroom, locking the doors, and getting pregnant, I mean, listen, I'm not saying that teenagers are not promiscuous in some way, but gosh, that's a leap, man. That's a leap. And if that's what's happening in these bathrooms, then, lady, you got bigger problems in your community, right? Yeah, you need to support sex education classes. You need to support letting students know what it means to actually get together and what the results could be. Meanwhile, they're probably trying to cut, these types of people want to cut these types of education. Right. So, man, people just have way too much time on their hands. I've never seen anybody get so upset about too many bathrooms.
Yeah, it happens when you have Karenicity, brother. All right. Well, here we go. So Trump to decide on whether the U.S. will directly attack Iran within 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks. Here it is.
Caroline. President Trump has said previously in regard to Russia, he's used this phrase about 2 weeks several times in terms of we expect a 2-week deadline and then you give another 2-week deadline. How can we be sure that he's going to stick to this one on making a decision on Iran?
Well, in those deadlines, as you've seen in respect to Russia, Ukraine, might I add, these are two very different, complicated global conflicts, as you know, that the president inherited.
Put it up for a Maz. Okay. So Donald Trump said Thursday he will decide within 2 weeks whether the U.S. military will get directly involved in the conflict between Israel and Iran, given the, quote, substantial chance for renewed negotiations over Tehran's nuclear program as the two sides attack one another for now the 7th day. Trump has been weighing whether to attack Iran by striking its well-defended uranium enrichment facility, Fordo, which is buried under a mountain widely considered to be out of reach of all but America's bunker buster bombs. Earlier in the day, Israel's defense minister threatened Iranian supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, after Iranian missiles crashed into a major hospital in southern Israel and hit residential buildings near Tel Aviv, wounding at least 240 people. Israel's military, quote, has been instructed and knows that in order to achieve all its goals, this man absolutely should not continue to exist. And that's what the defense minister said from Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, here we go. He trusted that Trump would, quote, do what's best for America. Speaking from the rubble and shattered glass around the Soroka Medical Center in Beersheba, he added, quote, I can tell you that they're already helping a lot, end quote. The new diplomatic initiative appeared to be underway as Iran's foreign minister appeared to travel Friday to Geneva for meetings with the European Union's top diplomat and counterparts from the United Kingdom, France, and also Germany. Britain's foreign secretary said he met with the White House. He met with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and envoy Steve Witkoff to discuss the potential for a deal that could cool the conflict. Here's a reminder. The open conflict between Israel and Iran erupted last Friday with the surprise wave of airstrikes from Israel, and it targeted the nuclear and military sites. So top generals and nuclear scientists, at least 657 people, including 263 civilians, have been killed in Iran and more than 2,000 wounded, according to a Washington-based Iranian human rights group. The conflict continues. Now, Netanyahu is on a warpath. He did not go to war with Palestinians. He just simply slaughtered them. They were never at war with Palestinians. The average age of a Palestinian in Gaza, 19.1 years of age. These are children. They're non-combatant. Well, that wasn't enough. Appetite extended. And so all of these are proxies. Interestingly enough, the same people who voted Donald Trump in would say Trump is going to make America great again by keeping us out of foreign affairs, by keeping us out of foreign wars, by making sure that America has the money that we're giving to all of these foreign nations. No, he took money from you. He eliminated your federal jobs, not Israel. He stopped your checks from coming. All right. Hell of a thing. War is never a necessary evil. It is never a required framework. Don't let them make that case for you. All right. Dear brother, thoughts?
Well, Caroline Levitt said that the Ukraine-Russia war and the Iran-Israel war are two separate things that Trump inherited, and she's right. He inherited them from himself. Ukraine and Russia, he inherited because he emboldened Putin by siding with him on several things and basically nodding and winking to Putin that, if you do something, we're not gonna get involved. So that was that. And then the Iran-Israel issue, I'm Iranian American, and I will tell you, first of all, the people of Iran have been suffering under the leaders of Iran for almost 50 years. It's a brutal regime. They're a horrible regime. That said, we had what was called the nuclear deal in 2015 that Donald Trump pulled out of, which then led to Iran getting closer to developing a nuclear weapon. And then most recently, Donald Trump claimed that he was going to have another deal with the Iranians that was going to be a nuclear deal, which for all intents and purposes was the same deal that we had that he got out of, except now the Iranians were closer to getting a nuclear weapon. Now, once again, the Iranian government is not a trustworthy government. They've lied to the world several times, many times. However, we find ourselves now in a situation where the Iranians aren't going to trust the Americans anymore, because they're going to say, first of all, you pulled out of our first agreement, and then this second time we're getting ready to negotiate with you, and you bomb us the day before. You basically played a bait and switch. You kept us coming, and then the bombs rained down on us, and you knew that they were coming. And so we have created this situation that is a horrible situation. And my heart just suffers for the people of Iran, again, who've suffered 50 years under this brutal regime. And now they're suffering under Bibi's bombs. And the people of Israel who are suffering, and the people of Gaza who are suffering. And meanwhile, our leaders, whose job is to solve problems, are creating more problems. And let's not forget that they have their own problems. Bibi has a big problem in Israel where he's committed criminal acts that he could be held accountable for if he comes out of that government. And so these distractions are also something that selfishly keep him out of trouble. He's been saying that Iran's been a week away from a bomb for the past 15, 20 years. He's been trying to go to war with Iran for the past 15, 20 years. He's been trying to get America involved to go to war with Iran for the past 15, 20 years. And he finally found a president who was gullible enough to buy into it. And now Trump has painted himself into a corner, and he's got to do one of two things. And if he takes us into a war, as you've seen with Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon and others on the right saying, yo, you're supposed to keep us out of wars, but he may end up taking us into a war. And this may be another one of our failed missions in the Middle East. We were in Afghanistan for 20 years and the Taliban got it back. How many people died in Iraq? I don't know. Iraq is now, by the way, a proxy for Iran. If you really want to look at the strategy, when the Bush administration went into Iraq, they did Iran a favor, because until the Bush administration went into Iraq, the leadership was Saddam Hussein. It was Sunni, and a majority of the population was Shiite. And once they overthrew Saddam Hussein, who again was a brutal dictator, the leadership became Shiite, and they became a proxy of Iran. And so America did Iran a favor by doing that. It's amazing to me, Dr. Ritchie, how often these leaders take actions without thinking about the day after. For 2 years now, Netanyahu has been saying they have a reason that they keep killing Palestinians. And we have not seen a resolution. We're not closer to resolution. Every day there's tens and hundreds killed. The hostages haven't been returned. So what is your plan? There is no plan. So what is the plan in Iran if you go and bombard a city like Tehran that has one of the biggest populations of a city in the world? And they're telling these folks, you need to evacuate by tomorrow. And most of these folks don't have places to go. Gas is limited. Internet is limited. They're stuck between an external force and an internal force. The internal force as well is not capable. They weren't prepared for something like this. So the people of Iran are suffering, and my heart goes out to them. My heart goes out to all the other victims in the other countries. And it's a horrible, horrible situation. And I hope that cooler heads prevail and we can walk ourselves back from the brink of World War III.
I had a friend who posed a question to me a couple of days ago, dear brother, and said, are we on the brink of World War III? And I told her what I'm going to say here. There are some who would say yes, and others would say no, or not yet. Wars are shadows. Wars are shadows. The true war starts in the mind. The people of these nations, they're not at odds with each other. Their leaders are. Because the people from those nations actually are in this country. We see them, we communicate, we have friends, we get along just fine. So it is not a conflict of people. It is a conflict of those people, the leaders of the people today. So the conflict is in the mind. The war, the physical carnage, is the shadow. So my encouragement to everyone who has that question, you hold in your mind a vision of light and prosperity for this nation, yourself, and beyond. It will never be a World War III if you do that. All right. Dear brother, always good to have you on the program, man. Tell people how they can follow you and check out your great work.
Well, actually, I was told from our producers that I'm going to stick around for a little bit. But people can find me at MazJobrani.com. Come see me do live comedy. Follow me at Maz Jobrani on social media. But with that said, I will let our producers tell us what we need to do next.
Sounds good to me, brother. I always wanted you to stay secretly. I just didn't. I was.
Oh man, feeling is mutual.
All right, we got more. We're going to go to break. Indisputable 6 Stay.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover, so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories.
We play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcast and cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma, and we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show.
We'll see. We'll see.
Poor Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? Now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone?
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That a Ferrari?
Yes, I'm getting to that.
Why wouldn't I want to be on a show with you guys?
You obviously have very scrupulous and discerning listeners in your audience.
Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good bosser.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip into Republicans. See, don't miss the live show.
That's great.
Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We got some comments. I will read them. I appreciate everyone. All right, CDE 71954 says, I'm Asian and I celebrate Juneteenth because it is a day of freedom. The girl does not realize that this occurred 106 years ago. CNN and Fox News did not exist. Guam will capsize dragon. I didn't know the president was allowed to just take 2 weeks to do anything. Seems like should be a little more immediate. Andrew Martinez, Juneteenth has more legitimacy to be a holiday than Columbus Day does. Right. Indigenous People Day. And, yep, I think it's Day. Reparations is a pretty lofty goal when we never stop the evil in the first place. Right. Tyler Hackner, talking about Iran. That shouldn't be something to deliberate over. That's true. Fix is in. So understand these decisions are made, planned, and then they create the psychology to have people invest in them if they can. Their emotional and physical energy. Yep. Back to you. Dana Manning says hello to all you beautiful people. Hello back to you. And Scorpio's course, good day. All an indisputable family from Australia. Always good to have you join the show. And I'm going to go to the Ace Hardware one. Tyler Hagler says, this is creepy, insane. And then Bernie the Kiwi Dragon says, a noose on Juneteenth. Not buying their story. That's it. That's the one-liner. You should be the lawyer prosecuting civilly the case. Yeah. All right, here we go. VA hospitals now can turn away Democrats and unmarried veterans. Well, we have a story, all right? I'll put it in full mass. It's interesting. The White House is denying a report that doctors at the Department of Veterans Affairs can refuse treatment based on a patient's political ideology or marital status. The Guardian is reporting that VA hospitals are already making changes and implementing new guidelines under an executive order President Donald Trump signed in January. Now, what is this executive order? Under the new rules, medical staffers can decline to offer care to veterans based on individual traits not protected under federal law, such as political affiliation, whether they're married or single, or even if they're a member of a labor union. And according to the Guardian's report, the VA can conversely screen healthcare employees for potential new hires for these same characteristics, meaning the discrimination can go beyond just people that need the VA. It stems from Trump's, quote, defending women from gender ideology, extremism, and restoring biological truth in the federal government executive order, recognizing only two sexes, male and female. So, while, the politics of it all would disagree with contextualization of social dynamics in such a binary way, what does the other stuff have to do with that? All right, here we go. So the press secretary for the VA, former Fox News digital politics editor, did not deny the policy change. He told The Guardian, quote, that the new rules allowed doctors to refuse to treat veteran patients based on their beliefs, or that physicians could be dismissed based on their marital status or political affiliation, but said, quote, all eligible veterans will always be welcome at VA and will always receive the benefits and services they've earned under the law, end quote. He called the rule changes a formality, but said they were made in accordance with Trump's executive order to ensure, quote, VA policy comports with federal law, end quote. It's unclear which federal laws he's referring to, however. And just for the record, the president doesn't get to write a federal law. White House Deputy Press Secretary vigorously denied the Guardian report, accusing the news outlet of fear-mongering. And she called out the reporter who was Aaron Glantz by name. The VA also denied the report, calling it disinformation. The story is disinformation. All eligible veterans will always be welcome at VA and will always receive the benefits and services they've earned under the law, the agency posted on X. This is just, I'm not a former military guy, never served. I would have assumed that you don't have to qualify a VA. I don't understand the terminology qualified VA, if qualified veteran for the VA. If you are a veteran, I assumed you will qualify to receive VA services, and I could simply be misinformed. But critics are pointing to the VA's use of the term eligible, okay? And these are, well, Trump executive order dynamics at play. Because under Trump's executive order, the VA has removed, quote, national origin. They've removed, quote, politics. and, quote, marital status from discrimination under his bylaws, leading some to wonder whether vets that fall into these categories are no longer qualified or eligible. Veterans. The hell is going on? All right, dear brother, thoughts?
Well, if we had someone else in office, you might say, oh, maybe there's a misunderstanding here. But we know the history. He's very petty, and he has, threatened to withhold money from Democratic states for many different things because because they didn't vote for him. And so here we are, and we know that he doesn't really have respect for the military. He said, I like with John McCain, he said, I like people who don't get captured. When he was at the I think it was in France for Normandy or something, he said to one of the generals, these guys are losers, the people whose graves were there. So he's had no real respect for the military, and as we see, he likes to make everything partisan. He's divided this country more and more and more, and his administration is doing the same. There's no reason to deny any kind of medical care to any veteran whatsoever. They go to the other parts of the world and they sacrifice their lives, and they come back here, and then we're finding ways to cut them short. And once again, some of these other benefits that they're planning on implementing or taking away are benefits that would benefit veterans. I sincerely don't feel that this administration has actual respect for veterans.
Yeah, and the veterans should feel that way as well. It's unfortunate, but it is reality. Trump has managed to basically alienate every voter demographic that supported his route to the presidency, from veterans to individuals who are hardworking people that happen to work for the federal government, and also your economic or your business class community. They have all been violated, but at some point, you got to say something. All right. Brother, once again, always fascinating to have you on the show. You give out your information again as tradition.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on. I'm touring, doing stand-up comedy all over the country. People can go to mazjobrani.com, MazJobrani.com. I'm on social media at Maz Jobrani. And come out and let's have a laugh in a live setting, because we need it.
That's right. Very funny, very on point. I enjoy your content, as I said earlier, dear brother. Thank you, Maz, for all you do.
Thank you.
All right, remember, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.